Hello, my dearies. I just received a package and I'd received a notification on my phone that said you have a delivery that's on its way. And I was thinking, oh, what did I order? I'm like, oh shoot, do I need to check my Amazon? What am I about to receive? And so I couldn't remember anything off the top of my head. It just wasn't coming to me. And then as soon as I got the box, I just spared you guys the, oh, Anna's making an appearance too. Hello. But yeah, I realized, oh, it's art supplies, which, you know, makes me giddy. Like, I get so freaking excited about art and art supplies in general, because it just means I get to create, I get to make the magic happen, and kind of feels like Christmas when you're an artist, you know? So, you know, I probably could have grabbed some scissors, but I'll let the inner warrior come out here. Just so aggressive. Okay. A art snob to some degree. Actually, not entirely, but to some degree, in the sense that when I'm getting commissioned to work on a piece, I like to use really high quality canvases and materials to have the best possible outcome, of course. When you're first starting, and I tell my students this all the time, like, I actually advise people not to go out and spend a whole bunch of money on new materials if they're not looking to do it professionally, if they just want to have fun and just be really explorative. I actually do have art kits that are available and for sale too. There's over 100 pieces in them. They come with like paints, pastels, a whole bunch of stuff. They're really good. Obviously I wouldn't sell them if I didn't believe that they weren't good. Okay, this is interesting. I was not expecting the canvas to be the texture that it is, and it's not like right, wrong, good, bad. It's just different. I'm definitely gonna have to paint on this because, as well, the students of mine who have come to my workshops know, I essentially drench my canvases. I am mostly a watercolor artist, as you can see. I do a lot of layered stuff and a lot of acrylics, like mineral paints, watercolors, and so in order to get a lot of layers, that transparency, you need a lot of water. So yeah, I'm just kind of curious. I'm not gonna, obviously I don't know if you guys can tell from the video or not, or if you can actually see the detail of the texture. Yeah, maybe there it might go. Like, it's just different, right? It's not as linen-y, I guess, is the best way that I can describe it, but not that that's a bad thing. I think I'm just gonna have to report back once I get some paint and some water on it and let you know if it does absorb anything or not. But it's a very interesting texture. It's definitely different than the canvases that I currently work on. So, okay, and then, ooh la la. Okay, I'm assuming these are gonna be paints. How do I, oh, just let it open like that. Okay, cool. Oh, tins. Okay. Should I do some AMSR action? Okay. Cool. I'm gonna just see what this says first. Professional watercolor painting set. Very good arrangement of colors. I will take them out and then I will paint them on this sheet here so that we can see the direct comparison. Really curious to see how the water is going to take on this, because I use a lot of water. As most of you know, if anyone's taken a watercolor workshop from me before, you know I drench my canvases. So, without further ado, let's begin. All right, I don't always sketch my pieces out, but if I want to be a little bit more of a realism piece, and I'm really just using this as my inspiration. I'm not going to be copying it necessarily because I want to use a little bit different colors, make it a bit more green. And I actually think I want this sky to be, like, as you can see, it's about halfway point, but I want the sky to be more exaggerated. So I'm actually gonna say my horizon line is gonna be around here instead. It's actually a photo I took out at my parents' acreage. Very Saskatchewan prairie inspired, and then have that sort of sun right above. And like I said, I don't typically even sketch them out because I like doing I'm an abstract artist, so I don't often even really go off of images, but I thought, hey, let's switch things up. Okay, then the set that I'm also going to be using is also from Pheonix. These are a really beautiful watercolor set, and I have not utilized them yet, so I'm also going to be testing them out to see. But what I do like so far about them is, so for anyone that's bought these pans, they're really good for if you're traveling or don't have a whole other palette aside. You can actually mix the colors off to the side. And then this is the whole color range. Open up each one of these, and just because of course what you see on, probably gonna start with this blue actually. What you see printed is not always going to be 100% accurate. So it's always nice to have your own little guideline of what these true colors actually are, if you know what I mean. I'm a rule breaker, so some people say start with your light colors and work your way up. But you know what, I sometimes follow that rule and I sometimes don't. The thing about starting with a darker color is that it will make your water dirty faster. So sometimes you just gotta change out your water faster. Okay, I guess I can talk about real quick 2 different methods. The other thing too is I can already tell this is more of a true blue. I want to add in some more gray, and actually looks like this one's going to be a really good option. There's a wet on wet method, or there's actually a wet on dry method, and then there's a wet on damp method. So as you can see, if I'm just going straight paint to canvas, that is going to be wet on dry method because there's no water already on the canvas. So if I want to get really detailed, say with these blades of grass later, I'm probably going to utilize that method a bit more. Whereas right now, if I want it to be more blended, and I'm an artist that likes to blend. Again, if you have ever commissioned me to do a piece of work, you'll know that my work is very blended most of the time. So actually I might as well just do this. I want to make sure that that blue is off before I dab into this. Kind of looks like a bluish gray. Ooh. Okay, we'll see how that that dries out, but I can definitely tell it's going to be a bit more accurate to the actual color of the sky here. So wet on wet method is going to be, I'm putting water on the canvas, okay? Real exciting. You can't see anything, but as you can see, it's obviously shiny. It is wet. So now if I go in and I add paint to that, that is wet on wet method. Cool? So as you can see, that is going to give you a much more blended look. Whereas we can do wet on damp method, which I'm going to just add some water up here and wait for it to dry a little bit. It's going to just have a little bit of a sheen. It may not pick up in the camera, but you can see as soon as before it completely dries out, actually this whole kind of top area, I'm gonna just do, okay. So I'm just gonna go in. This is still considered wet on wet method because it's still pretty wet where I'm adding this. But in some areas, like down here, I'm gonna let that dry a little bit more before I go on. Okay, my take on these canvases, I do like. I can tell that they are allowing me to do a lot of good blending. Not that like this canvas doesn't allow me to, the ones that I'm used to using, but I think these ones have more gesso on them. Like I said, they don't have that as much of a linen texture to them, but I don't mind it. I'll be able to give more of a review on them once or more of an opinion even of my preference, once I start layering and adding in more and more colors. So I'll keep you posted, but so far I like. Pretty much at that wet on damp method, which as you may or may not see, it's when it's starting to just get less shiny. See, it's not gonna blend out quite as much as it was down here. So that's, again, if you want a little bit more detail with your work, that is a good option. I think I'm gonna actually have to dab into black here because it's still a little bit more saturated in color than I would prefer. It's also not something you should do, is just let your paintbrushes chill in water. Fine if it's for not long periods of time, but I don't suggest leaving them in there for like hours at a time kind of thing, because it loosens the bristles. So little tip, little paint tip for you. Have I done it in the past? Absolutely. But when I invest in high quality brushes, I want them to last. And so if you want to make the most out of them, just have them be set aside. Okay. Here, for example, I'm going to start blending right on the canvas. Another thing I do is I often will mix off the canvas, but also mix right on the canvas, just depending on where I'm at. And then I usually always like to have a paper towel next to me so I can also utilize that for dabbing if I have too much paint or too much water on my brush. Okay, I want also a lighter blue. I'm really gonna start just going into all of these colors. I can tell, like, no, still not the right shade. And that's the nice thing about having a palette with multiple shades. It's actually a little bit more of a cheat. It's a little bit easier because you don't have to do as much mixing on your own, because technically you could make all these colors if you have the primary colors. Only thing, this palette does not have a white, but that's okay. I'm gonna go grab my white. The other thing too is just to leave the canvas raw where you want it to be light. But if you do want to mix your colors or get even more various shades, that is a nice way. And I'm actually gonna mix both of these. The 447 along with that more navy kind of muted blue. I think it's gonna make a really nice color. So again, a lot of times too, if you are referencing a photo, people don't know it. People have never seen the reference photo for the most part, so it really does not have to be exact. And like I said earlier, when you're doing abstract pieces, like I don't even use a reference point. It's like my mind is my reference point. So it's really just to give you a little bit of inspiration for kind of where to go with it. But I know for any of the realism artists out there, you're like, I need something to work off of. So, okay, so this is where that wet on damp method is coming in here. So I will continue on with this, but I'm going to open up the rest of these paints so I have all the colors accessible, especially when I get down to here. I'm gonna obviously add in some peaches, some oranges, and then I'll head down to the greens. And this palette actually does have, it looks like 4 different good shades of greens, and then I'll probably be mixing browns and all that in there too. But yeah, this is a good base point for the sky. And yeah, I'm happy with these canvases so far. Hold tight and then I'll speed you along, but that's this guy so far. I am back. I have let this canvas totally dry, as you can see. So I really like that whole wet on wet method that I was talking about, to be able to get those really nice blended marks. And then I also just wanted to speed things up. So I took each individual color, I unpackaged them, and then I'll do another close-up, but I did a little mock of a little swatch of everyone. And as you can see, this is so helpful, because even this color, for example, I was like, oh wow, I had no idea it was that yellow once I actually got it onto the sheet. And I'm going to actually dive right into the next portion of this piece, which is that bottom part. But actually, before I do that, I'm gonna hit the sun because that's the lightest color. And now that I can see what yellows are the closest to that, I'll be able to pair it up a lot better. I'll hit that yellow just to get that color started in there. It looks like we need a little more warmth. It's actually a little bit more orangey. Yeah, that's better. And I can see too, based off of the photo, that it looks quite layered. So I'll probably end up going over, yeah, some of that color as well over the blue, just because it's more representative of my work of being just really layered, multi-layered, but also closer to the actual image there, given the fact that it does look like there's color over top. That's Anna's automatic feeder. She's like, I'm ready for dinner. Okay. So now that we have that pop of color in there, I'm going to start with that field. And it looks like, again, this looks almost black, the color on here. It looks so dark. It's really hard to tell what that true color is, but I'm so glad I'm able to. It's actually the burnt umber, which is the 687 if anyone does have the Pheonix Watercolor palette. So if you guys do have this, or I guess I should show this one. That's what color it is. And then of course, oh yeah, this is what I was meaning or referencing. So yeah, it's great to have this as also a reference point, but as you can see, these colors are still going to vary a bit from what the printed colors are. I'm going to just do a wash of color pretty quick because it's going to be similar to how I did the sky in terms of just doing more of a quick wash and doing more of that wet on wet method. Anna knows how to milk the system. She knows how to get a little extra out. Okay, so now I'm just gonna do a quick wash of that color. I'm definitely gonna be going back in afterwards just to get this horizon line a lot more crisp, because right now it's gonna bleed out just with it being still quite wet right now, which is fine for now, but I would like to have that a little bit more distinct and more of a true horizon line personally. On a color in, and then it transitions from more of these orangey kind of tones to the greens. Hey, you're good. You had your dinner. Do you want to come up? Do you want to say hi? She invades my personal space. No personal space with Anna. So funny. She's more like a dog than a cat. Okay, so I'm going to just add in a little bit more color. Oh yeah, that yellow is definitely bleeding down there a little bit, which is actually fine. There is some of that color. It's actually touch pink, which is really, really beautiful. This magenta color. Looks like it's in between this one and this one. But super, super light, so I'm gonna wash it. So just always using a lot of water when you just want to go in quite light. Which again, I go over in my workshops. I usually encourage people to do color mixing right on canvas and then off of the canvas before applying it on, which gives you a little bit more control over the color. Okay, and then it actually goes even darker there. So I'm gonna probably add in actually a little bit of the black just to get that darker pigmented color. Ooh, yes. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, that's so much better. It's actually way more representative of what this is gonna be. And kind of add in more of that contrast from the lighter. It's definitely looking way more like a landscape now. And I might even bring that up just a bit. So again, not that I'm gonna be like copying this image exact, which I know some realist artists out there are like, I need to get it as close to the reference point as possible, but that's just not my style. I'd like to still have my own freedom and be able to kind of add in like, I don't know, birds or whatever if I wanted to, like just being able to really use it as a loose guideline is just the way that I approach it, but you guys can do you. Okay, that is probably gonna be as far as I'm gonna go for now with this, because I'm gonna let this bottom part dry. It's actually very calming painting with a cat in your lap, I will say. Adds a level of therapeuticness to it. Maybe I should bring her to my workshops. Should ask people. She whenever I'm doing Reiki on people or my breath work, and when I'm doing one-on-ones, I always find she's like really holds the energy and the space for people, like actually adds to the session. I just find animals are so, well, not all of them, I guess some dogs and stuff can be kind of chaotic and crazy, but I find for the most part they have quite calming energy when they're in their chill state. But yeah, a cat purring in your lap is definitely calming. Okay, I think, yeah, that's as far as I want to go. I could add more blue into the sky, but I really want to have more contrast versus what it actually shows on here. So for example, I'm keeping some of this blank space up here, just white, to have that raw canvas come through. I like a little bit of that. Okay, so just doing more of a close-up of these actual colors. As you can see, some of them just look black essentially, especially those darker, really pigmented colors. But this is why I think it's so important to be able to do these swatches, just so that you can see those true colors. Obviously this piece is still drying, but I'm gonna wait until especially this bottom dries out a bit more before I can layer in and just make it a little bit darker to be a little bit more representative of the reference. But I'm actually not going to take it that dark. I still want it to be lighter. I have since added some texture, as you can see, for those clouds. So that is now on there. And now that it's all dry, I'm going to add in, I'm actually going to go in with a little bit of a smaller brush just so I can get in with a little bit more detail. But I'm just going to add in a little bit of color now into those clouds, but I don't want to add too much. I still want some of that white from just the texture itself. So, like I said, I'm just going to go in with a little bit finer of a brush just to be able to have a little bit more of that control. And I'm just gonna wash this out with more water because it's gonna be harder to bring that white back versus adding color. Obviously start with a small amount. Less is more. Free flowing is the way I go. I don't like it to be too structured, which is why I'm an abstract artist. But yeah, it just obviously utilizes a different part of your brain, and it's a different way of challenging yourself to replicate something pretty close. So I'm not knocking it. It's just not authentically how I approach art. I think I might go in with some mother of pearl or some sort of iridescent, which again is not really representative of the photo, but it's just my style, and I feel it could use a little shimmer. Actually, pearl mica would be really, really pretty. I don't want it to be too warm. Like I'm having this warmer color, the more the yellowy color kind of glimpse up a little bit, just to show like that sunshine coming through some of these clouds. But I'm realizing I don't want to bring it up too far. I want it to just be more of like, could even add in some silver, add a touch of blue into just this one other side and these clouds. And then I'll probably go in with some silver metallic because that's how I roll. But yeah, I can already tell like it's pretty easy to add up too much color. So I don't want to accidentally add in too much because like I said, it's a lot harder to go back. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with where this is at so far. Just adding a touch more of that blue. And it just gives the clouds a little bit more dimension, having a bit of color on them versus them looking just pretty stark white before. So there we have it. Until the next layer. Okay, so as you can see from this reference photo, there's a larger, darker green area here. So I am just going to, again, use your reference. So I really want to wash out the canvas just a little bit more too before I bring that color in. And just build up a little bit more of that layer there. I do like some of the white here, so I'm gonna be a bit mindful of not covering that totally. So as you can see, it looks quite dark there, but as soon as you add more water to it, it's going to lose a bit more of that pigment. So that's why I'm not too worried about going in or having this color look slightly darker on off to the side before I actually put it on the canvas, because I can always water this down a little bit more too. So that's the beauty of watercolor. It's so forgiving in that sense. So okay, I think I'm good with that.